Democrat interest group PETA has called milk a so-called white supremacist symbol. How patently absurd. Let's end the war on milk. Pass the bill. Together we can ensure that our children have access to the nutritional foundation they need to thrive and become the healthy, vibrant leaders of tomorrow. My amendment is simple. It would prevent taxpayer funds from paying for State Department employees to travel to or attend events hosted by the Clinton Global Initiative. The rationale is quite simple. The Clinton Global Initiative has engaged in blatant corruption and influence peddling that would make even Hunter Biden blush. In perhaps its most famous episode in 2014, Hillary Clinton approached the Moroccan government about hosting a Clinton Global Initiative conference in Morocco. The Moroccans fronted the money for the event by funneling it through a state-owned enterprise that was extracting and exploiting phosphates from a non-self-governing territory, Western Sahara. This sleight of hand amounted to condoning Morocco's sovereignty over this disputed land. You heard that right. It was cash for sovereignty deal formulated just as former Secretary of State Clinton began her run for president of the free world. This deal was so rotten that even the Huffington Post deemed Fox News' investigation into this matter a, quote, brutal, clean hit on Hillary Clinton's campaign, end quote. Indeed, the Clinton Global Initiative scandals are myriad and include an episode uncovered by the New York Times revealing undisclosed donations linked to the sale of U.S. uranium production to a Russian government agency. As expected, the Clinton Global Initiative was unable to withstand the scrutiny and shuttered shortly after the 2016 campaign. That is, until late last year, when the organization reconstituted itself. Its operations are no longer dark, and this is the first state and foreign operations appropriations bill considered since its resurrection. It has since morphed into a factory of radical, elitist, woke schemes. Just last week, the Clinton Global Initiative convened in New York to discuss how to reshape our economy to tackle the left's pet projects that will make life for ordinary Americans more expensive and worse. Given the State Department's enmeshment with the Clintons and the initiative, we need to send a clear message. No more coordination with the U.S. government, no more conferences with corrupt governments at the expense of the oppressed people of the globe, no more representation and participation by the State Department, an end to its commingling with official policy, and hopefully the beginning of the end of this corrupt organization's influence on U.S. policymaking. Americans simply can't afford more radical policies purveyed by an organization that allows the global elite to buy and influence American foreign policy. Join me in condemning the Clinton Global Initiative's misconduct. I urge my colleagues to support my amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from North Carolina reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from California seek recognition?
I rise in opposition to this amendment.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, boy, is this the level we've gotten to tell the State Department what meetings they cannot attend? Will we start saying what meetings they have to attend? The Clinton Global Initiative is a platform for government, philanthropy, business, media, and academia to discuss identified problems and to brainstorm solutions. We should be encouraging such collaboration. The problems facing the world are daunting, and solutions will not come from one place. Let's take good ideas from wherever we can and not micromanage who goes to what meetings. I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from California reserves. The gentleman from North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that my colleague has not refuted any of the things that I've said about the Clinton Global Initiative. Why in the world, again, would we ask American taxpayers to pay for people from the State Department to attend these conferences when they're likely not to gain anything positive from them and support a corrupt organization? I reserve.
Gentlewoman from North Carolina reserves. Gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I understand what this amendment does, and I don't accept the fact that it's a corrupt organization, and I do know the importance of these meetings and conferences in terms of us coming together for solutions to lead us to global peace and security. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from California reserves. The gentlewoman from North Carolina is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, may I inquire as to how much time I have left?
1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes.
1.5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, we have a terrific debt on our hands in this country. We don't need to be spending any money that is not absolutely necessary to spend. Curbing attendance at meetings such as the Clinton Global Initiative is a good way for us to chip away at that debt and to save the American taxpayers some money. I think this is an excellent amendment. I believe that my colleagues will see that it's an excellent amendment, and I will continue to advocate for its passage, and I reserve.
The gentlewoman from North Carolina reserves. Gentlewoman from California
Yes.
is recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, finally, I'll just say what this does is another attempt to chip away at our diplomacy. I yield the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman from California yields. The gentlewoman from North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to offer this amendment. I believe, again, that it is good for us to highlight this organization and the fact that we do not need people from the State Department attending its meetings. And with that, I yield the balance of my time.
Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize the chair of the full committee, Dr. Foxx.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank our witnesses for being here. And Mr. Courtney, maybe WIOA in 2014 wasn't the Ten Commandments, but like the Ten Commandments, WIOA has not been honored as we had hoped it would be. I think I point out all the time that all we've ever needed, we don't need all these laws we've passed now, all we've ever needed was the Ten Commandments. Everything, every action we take could be contained within the Ten Commandments. So unfortunately, WIOA has not been adhered to like Ten Commandments haven't been. Ms. Logan, you recommend dedicating WIOA funding toward what I like to call individualized education accounts. I don't use the T word, and work-based learning. What impact would it have for job seekers and employers if a greater share of WIOA dollars were consistently available for upskilling?
We believe it would allow us to serve more people, having more dollars of the allowable dollars dedicated to skilling programs would help us to serve more people and prepare them for available jobs.
Right. And everybody has said, including Mr. Holzer, that too much money is going to administrators. Bureaucrats feather their own nest with WIOA money, and that's the reason only about 20% to 30%. I saw that when I was a community college president, and we've been frustrated by breaking that mold. Mr. Palish, in 2020, DOL established a website to increase transparency and accountability in the workforce system. Yet almost 3 years later, the site still lacks basic performance data on most eligible programs and providers. Why don't we have the data? What will it take to fix it? And what does this say about the current state of accountability in the system?
Thank you for your question. And I think it's important to note that I was the one who launched that website because I knew coming from the state of Kentucky that the training programs in Kentucky were not performing.
You mean the education programs?
I'm sorry, yes. The eligible education programs, yes. So I knew that we were providing customer choice to individuals, but we were giving them bad choices. And if the state of Kentucky didn't know whether the programs were good or bad, And if the Department of Labor doesn't know whether the programs are good or bad, how can we possibly expect the individual job seeker to know? So I think that is the crux of what we're here to talk about, is making sure we can talk about funding levels, but putting more money into a system that doesn't have the accountability and doesn't have the performance isn't going to generate the results we want it to.
Thank you for that. That's a wonderful way to say it.
Yeah, we have to clean up the process first, and we have to leverage work-based learning and on-the-job training and incumbent worker training. We have to leverage apprenticeships. And then those programs that are on the ETPL, we have to make sure those are the highest performing programs. And then we can infuse more money to make sure that individuals are being pushed and directed towards programs that are going to succeed.
Thank you. Mr. Ferguson, you discussed how cutting down on administrative waste in the system, which I've alluded to already, and so has everybody else, will allow local workforce boards to focus more funding on skills development. Do you believe consolidating similar workforce programs would make the system more efficient and empower local leaders to achieve better results?
Very simply, yes.
Well, that's a succinct answer, and we appreciate that. Again, we worked on that in 2014 with what we did with WIOA. Ms. Ferguson, Ms. Logan, I'd like to come back to you. Several years ago, IBM instituted a program, I understood, in Bedford-Stuyvesant in high schools, where they began with high school students. And you may not be aware of this program, and if you're not, that's okay. But my understanding was, and I can't remember what they called it, but where IBM went into the high schools and developed the curriculum. Students enrolled in the 9th grade and went through for 4 years. And my understanding was at the time, and it's been several years since anyone's talked with me about it, that at the end of the 4 years, they were guaranteed an interview, not guaranteed a job, but guaranteed an interview. Could you, if you have information, would you bring us up to date on that? And if you don't, could you send it after the hearing?
I'd be happy to send more information after. That's our Pathways and Technology Education program. It's the PTech program.
T-Tech, that's it.
Yeah. It's an early college high school model. It's a career to high school pathway. There are many Pathways high school models now out there, and we believe it includes high school plus work-based learning plus higher ed. Those students earn an associate's degree. They get internships at IBM. They also have work-based learning while they're in high school. That's a wonderful model for high school, and I'm happy to talk afterwards more about that.
I happen to think that this is actually the model that we need to be following in our country everywhere. North Carolina is doing a great job on early college, and we give free community college courses to high school students, and many students now are graduating from high school with their high school diploma as well as an AA or an AAS degree and credentials so that they can go immediately into a job. And I really think we can't wait till students graduate from high school to start working on helping them gain the skills they need for a productive career. Thank you again. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I went over, but
Thank you, Dr. Fox.